Hi, my name is Steve Moyer. I'm here to talk to you about elopement. My son is a 28-year-old world-class eloper, and these are some of the things that we've learned to do to make him safe over the years. According to data, 2012, 49% of children with ASD will attempt to elope. Chances are it's a much, much higher number. Fatalities, most of them under 3 years old. Very often we believe that even though they're under 3, it's a non-diagnosed autistic child that drowned. This is all preventable. Next. According to the National Autism Association 2017, Florida is number 2, right behind California in mortality from wandering elopement. There's a variety of ways, of course, these children die. Next, please. 71% is by drowning, 18% is struck by the vehicle. Unfortunately, all this stuff is preventable if we can keep the kids safe. Next, please. At my house, we started with putting a deadbolt up when Matthew couldn't reach it, a door alarm, a spinner on the doorknob. When he outgrew all that kind of stuff, next please, we went to a keypad exit. This is just an off-the-shelf keypad doorknob that we put the keypad on the inside of the house instead of on the outside. Next. Then next, when I travel with a little battery operated alarm that I tape onto the door of the hotel. Goes off, lets me know if he's trying to sneak out. Sometimes in the old days before we figured this out, we would actually, one of us, my wife or I, would sleep on the floor in front of the door. Next. Window locks, lock your windows. Kids get out through the windows. There's a variety of ways to do it. One of the easiest is to just put a screw in the corner, and that's easy, it's inexpensive, and it works real well. Next. To offset some of the additional risk from locking your windows like that, additional smoke alarms might not be a bad idea. Next. Cameras. Cameras today are very inexpensive. This is a camera in my son's bedroom. Next. There's a variety of them. They're very easy to install, very easy to program. See what's going on with your phone. Next. This is my backyard. Matthew used to be able to scale that 6-foot fence very easily, very quickly. That is not barbed wire, that's just rope. It didn't stop him, but it did slow him down. He stopped trying to go out of the fence that way, and so that doesn't exist anymore. But at the time, it served the purpose, and it slowed him down. We also have a camera in the window looking down that side of the yard, so we can keep an eye on him, make sure that he's safe. Next. ID bracelet is one of the very best things that you can do. Very inexpensive, very low tech, works well. Matt got away one time, neighbor saw him, looked on his watch. She knew who we were, she knew where he lived. She called us, said, "You want me to bring him home or you want to come get him?" It's very inexpensive. In this particular case, he would rip it off with the chain that came with the ID bracelet, so I used 80-pound fishing line and I monofilm it and I crimped it onto him. It's been on him now for a couple, 3 years. Next. This is the first generation of tracking devices. This was a radio frequency tracking device from a company called Ion Kids. It was a wristwatch, and this device here was the alarm. It would go off if he got outside of the set proximity. You would open this device up and it would indicate the direction that he was. You know, technology has come a long way since this. This is like early 2000s technology. Next. Next. This is Project Lifesaver. It's got its limitations. It's usually sponsored by the local sheriff's department or police department. They usually give them to you for free, but you've got to notice that your kid has escaped the house. Then you have to call the police next, and then the police send somebody out and start looking for him. And when a kid elopes, seconds are important. They do find them pretty quick once the police get there, but that could be 15, 20 minutes, a half an hour, even more. Next. This is right off their website. Caregiver notifies the Lifesaver agency, trained emergency team responds, comes out to the neighborhood, starts looking for the kid. Next, there are better ways. Bluetooth trackers are very inexpensive, have very long battery lives, are very simple devices. Next, you pair them to your cell phone, and if the kid gets out of Bluetooth range, you get an alarm. Doesn't necessarily tell you where he is, but it tells you that he's gotten out of Bluetooth range. which varies depending on what kind of a building you're in, etc. This is the tile. Next one would be the chip. Next one would be Buddy Tag, which is a real nice device. The next one would be AirTags from Apple, and there's several others as well. They all work pretty much the same way. GPS and cell tracking devices are more sophisticated. They've got a lot more features. They're more expensive. Next. There's the 360 by Apple, which tracks the phone, not the child. But if your kid is attached to his phone and he's already got it, it's a very easy and inexpensive way to at least track your kid's phone. Next. AngelSense, you're gonna hear a little bit about that in another presentation in a minute, but this is a very sophisticated tracking device that does a variety of things. One-way and two-way listening, proximity alerts, tracking. There's got two different devices. They've got the watch now. Previously they had just a nice little pendant, which you would attach to your kid in a variety of different ways. Next. This is my neighborhood, and this is my son Matthew and I taking our tandem bicycle for a little ride. This is home, and when we're riding this bike, by the time we get to this first turn, I've got an alarm going off on my phone saying Matthew has left home. And then it tracks us all the way through. We come here and we check out this neighbor over here and then back. It does this very well, very reliably. Next. This is for an Apple Watch. If your kid has an Apple Watch already, the Boundary Care app does similar. It doesn't have quite all the features, but if you've already got the watch and your kid likes the additional features on the Apple Watch, then this might be a good way to go too. And these also call for subscriptions. So there is a monthly rate that's involved with these products. Next. The same with this product here at TheraCare is very similar. This tells the story, I think, very well. This is my home right here. And at 2:13 a.m. in 2017, Matthew pushed a screen out of a window and got out of the house and took off. I had my phone on my nightstand. As soon as he reached the geofence, the alarm went off. I got the alarm, opened up my phone, saw where he was. My wife went to the front door, stayed there. I chased after him. She saw him cross the street right here, yelled at him to come home. He saw me right behind him. He said, well, I'm had, I might as well come home. And he came home. 7 minutes from exit to enter at 2:13 a.m. Without that device, we wouldn't have known he was missing until we woke up the next morning. They also make these devices for animals, and they act very similar. They're a lot less expensive. They often don't have a subscription involved with them, and no reason why you couldn't put one on your kid. Next. And if you're in Florida, Florida will pay for these devices if you're on MedWaiver. We're on CDC Plus, iBudget. Next. It does say that they will pay for it. It's also the way they're looking at it is similar to I've fallen and I can't get up. It's a safety of life device, and the state will pay for it if you're on MedWaiver. Thanks for listening.
Hi, how are you? My name is Jeannie Callahan, and I'm here to talk a little bit more about AngelSense. Go to the next slide. This is my son, Tommy. I have two children, both with autism. When Tommy was 3, he was diagnosed. He was nonverbal at the time, and he did elope. I was living on Long Island on a canal, and I did not even know he had left my home for 15 minutes before we realized. So living on the water, you can just imagine how that was. He was nonverbal and fixated on letters and numbers and was gravitating towards all the cars on the road. My husband was actually checking in the canal between the boats to see where he was. It was 30 minutes of my life I will never get back. Thankfully, we found him, but it did happen again in a wooded area in upstate New York. Same thing, he was running towards cars on the main road, and we did find him, but we knew we had to find a solution. So we did research, we found AngelSense, and he did since elope, but his elopements went from 30 minutes of terror to 1 to 2 minutes given the technology and the application. So what is AngelSense? It really just is assistive technology for safety and independence. And it works with a wearable device designed for special needs, and through our artificial intelligence, it is able to provide an app for caregivers with proactive alerting and monitoring. And some of the things I just quickly want to talk to you about, one in particular is the actual geofencing. So when the device is in any location, it's going to auto-create these geofences. However, you do have the ability to manipulate them. So you can see over here all of the swimming pools that we do have in our area. So I was able to push that geofence a little bit over to one side. So if my son was to breach the geofence, I get notified immediately, well before he has an ability to get into any of those areas with pools. And when we think about safety with children with autism, specifically with drowning, this is really important that you make sure you check those geofences and keep them far, far away from those pools. Next one. Another feature that goes along with AngelSense that I just want to quickly touch upon is what we call indoor mapping. So this is an overview of my son's school, and it's a larger campus, but you can actually map different locations in the building. So playground, classrooms, library, cafeteria, and so on and so on. Because very often children will elope from a classroom. Maybe something's going wrong in the classroom and they have to leave, but they don't leave the geofence. You would be able to see where they were in a geofence if they don't actually breach it. So if you go to the next one, it's as easy as setting up that zone, naming it, and labeling it indoors or outdoors. So this way, if there was some type of a situation inside a geofence, you could find out where they were very quickly. Another great feature with schools or any place that you want to name it, you can actually have proactive alerting with arrival and departure times. So right now it's a big deal for my son. I let him take the school bus on his own. But we hear way too often of children that are getting off the bus at the wrong stop or staying on the bus and not getting off of it. So you can set arrival and departure times for any location. So if they don't arrive at a location at a certain time, or if they don't leave a location at a certain time, you're also notified. So it really can be uber proactive when it comes to you being able to keep tabs on your child, but still allow them to do things as simple as taking a school bus. Another thing too is you can monitor their typical transits to and from any location. And again, in this situation, it's school. This is his typical bus route to school. But let's say halfway through the bus route, he decides to get off the bus with other kids. You're notified if they're in a location that deviates from that route. So if he gets on the wrong bus in the morning and it takes him to the wrong school, you're notified. If they get off the bus at the wrong stop, you're notified. So it really does try to be as proactive as possible if they do deviate from a typical route. Another thing too, which is new, is you can actually take a picture of your loved one. And this is my son Tommy now, 12, very verbal. We always say it's hard to get him to stop talking now, which is a good thing. But the fact that you can take a head to toe picture of your child every single day, this way if there was an elopement situation, you now know exactly what they're wearing. And if you want to go to the next one, when you share a location, which you're able to do with AngelSense, they're not only getting the location of the individual, but they're also getting exactly what they're wearing as well, which is super important when you're talking about minutes mattering. So if somebody got that location, you share it with a neighbor or even law enforcement, and they're looking for someone, they can see where they are, but they can also see who it is they're looking for based on their looks and the clothing that they're wearing. And then finally, I just wanted to let you know we do have an auto two-way speakerphone where you can actually call the device and it will pick up, and you can either listen and make sure everything is okay. It's really great if you just want to do a check-in on the bus. Or you can have it where it's a two-way auto speakerphone where you can actually call, the device will auto pick up and you can speak to them saying, stay where you are, I'm coming to get you. Or speak to the people around that individual saying, this is Tommy, he has autism, he is nonverbal, I'm on my way to get him, is he okay? So it's a really great tool if your child is not able to manipulate a cell phone and you want to be able to either have a one or a two-way conversation with them. And that's really the whole thing, all things AngelSense. We do have an email address that you could always reach out to us at orgs@AngelSense, and hopefully you found this information helpful, and thank you very much.